Welcome back to SportsCenter. Matt Berry and Sage Steele. All right, next Tuesday night, the Baseball Hall of Fame will announce its class of 2022. And there has never been a more controversial pool of candidates for Cooperstown. Counting down to the announcement, the third part of our six-part Outside the Line series, Enshrine or Decline, continues.
So we've already discussed A-Rod and Big Papi, who are in their first year of eligibility. Our next three candidates are in their final year. You've got Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and today's subject, one of the game's most dependable big game starting pitchers, a six-time All-Star and World Series MVP, Curt Schilling. Here's Jeremy Schaap.
Matt, Sage, last year, in their ninth and penultimate years on the writer's ballot, Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were named on 62% of the ballots. 75% is the threshold for enshrinement. Curt Schilling, who is also in his next last year on the ballot, received 71% of the vote, 16 fewer votes than he needed. Now, all three have this one last shot to be elected by the writers. Cases for Clemens and Bonds, as well as Alex Rodriguez and David Ortiz, are all damaged by their association with performance enhancers. Not so for Schilling. His case is complicated by something else entirely.
Schilling strikes him out.
Alex Rodriguez.
When you are borderline, you need everything you can get.
Schilling has it working here today so far.
If you're teetering on the edge, a good thing pushes you over, and something not so good pushes you out. I think that's where we are with Curt Schilling.
Fastball struck him out swinging.
When you've talked to Curt Schilling during his playing days, he talked about the years that he thought he had wasted early on before he became a dominant pitcher, and his fear that those years were going to cost him a Hall of Fame candidacy. And maybe they have.
And out of the dugout comes skipper Frank Robinson.
He wants the right-hander Schilling.
In 1988, Curt Schilling came up to the majors as an Oriole. In his first 4 seasons, he was primarily a relief pitcher, and his earned run average was above 4.
And the inning unmercifully stays alive.
In 1992, Schilling was traded to the Phillies, who gave him a shot as a starter, and he flourished.
Schilling hits the spot. What a great pitch.
He had a 300 strikeout year in Philly. Yeah, he figured something out along the way.
Number 300 for the season.
In Philadelphia, Schilling's reputation as a big game pitcher sprang to life. After he was traded to Arizona in the year 2000, it would continue to grow. In the Diamondbacks' 2001 playoff run, he was dominant.
If you're going to make a Hall of Fame case for Curt Schilling, the Arizona years are the ones where he really starts to get on that track.
The Diamondbacks are world champions.
Prior to the 2004 season, Schilling was traded to Boston. That October, down 3-2 in the ALCS, the Red Sox turned to Schilling and his recently sutured ankle.
He looked like he was one of George Washington's troops at Valley Forge before the game was over, and he won the game.
Schilling's performance tonight will long live in New England baseball lore.
His numbers in the regular season are borderline Hall of Fame numbers.
And Schilling strikes him out.
It's the postseason that pushes him over the edge for me into the Hall of Fame.
The question for me had always been, was the postseason enough?
Schilling's playing career ended in 2007. In retirement, he would post insensitive social media messages, one regarding transgender rights, another about Muslims, and ESPN fired him as an analyst. Early last year, he voiced support for those who had stormed the Capitol on January 6th.
Do you feel like it's your political views that are keeping you out of Cooperstown?
They're not hiding the fact that they've stopped voting for me because of the things I've said in social media.
After falling short of the votes necessary for enshrinement last year, Schilling asked the Hall of Fame to remove him from the ballot. His request was denied.
People said 1 day a week he's a horse, and the rest of the week he's a horse's ass. I have voted for him continually.
Curt Schilling has won his 200th Major League game.
Strikeout number 3,000.
He doesn't have a surefire Hall of Fame resume. When you're that outspoken about something controversial, it's going to hurt you in this day and age.
people look at you and they look at the sum total of who you are as a human being, as a person. You can't just make enemies and say, oh, well, that shouldn't count. Of course it counts.
For more, we are joined now by ESPN baseball insider Jeff Passan. Jeff, putting aside for a moment all the things Curt Schilling has said and tweeted, what are his claims to the Hall of Fame strictly on the basis of his pitching credentials?
I mean, all due respect, Jeremy, to Tim Kurkjian, who has forgotten more about baseball than I will ever know. I thought Curt Schilling, on the merits of what he did on the mound, was a slam dunk Hall of Famer when I was voting for the Hall of Fame. And I gave up my vote a couple of years ago, but every year that Curt Schilling was on the ballot and I had a vote, I voted for him. It was the longevity. It was the fact that this is a guy who really was part of a dying breed of starting pitchers who actually go deep into games and this is going to sound novel, sometimes finish them. And the fact that he did what he did in the postseason and was as dominant as he was there, I think really hammered home the case. I don't know if Curt Schilling is a slam dunk Hall of Famer without his postseason credentials, but with what he did during the regular season, finishing second in the Cy Young 3 times behind his then Arizona Diamondbacks teammate Randy Johnson, and what he did in the postseason, to me, on merits of baseball alone, Curt Schilling is a no-doubter.
So how do you frame, then, the debate about Schilling's candidacy now?
I mean, it's about what he says. It's about what he stands for. It's become about who he is. It's a culture war thing more than anything. And in reality, I think some of what Curt Schilling says about the Baseball Writers Association actually has merit. It, generally speaking, is a group of liberal-minded people who look at his politics and think they're absolutely abhorrent. And they've taken the character clause, this one tiny word inside of the one line baseball writers get from the Hall of Fame, how you judge a player's worthiness for it. But I personally never thought that it should dissuade people from voting for him to be in a museum about baseball and about the accomplishments on a baseball field.
Jeff, no player has ever been excluded from the Hall because of things he said, no matter how abhorrent. If Schilling is excluded now, what are the implications for the Hall of Fame?
Look, my perspective on this is very simple. I've always thought that the players who should be in the Hall of Fame are the ones who were best at baseball. And I understand that there are going to be some people who would be deemed as bad among them. Guess what? There already are those types of people in the Hall of Fame. This has happened in the Hall of Fame already. So the idea that there needs to be some kind of purity test for a player to get into the Hall of Fame, I don't agree with the implications of that, and it concerns me. Where's the line that people are going to draw, and is there a line?
And we should say that Schilling could be selected for the Hall of Fame as early as next year, not by the writers, but by one of the ERAS committees. That goes as well for Bonds and Clemens. The ERAS committees are composed of media members, but also baseball executives and Hall of Famers themselves.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.